Hello everyone, this is Sam from Autobaus, and today I'm reviewing the 2011 Audi 67, and in this review I'm going to tell you why I bought this car, why I'm selling it, things I like, things I don't like, and I'll let you know if it's any fun to drive. So without further ado, let's go. So starting with the front, we have probably my favorite thing about this car and one of the main reasons why I bought it, and that would be this absolutely incredible sapphire blue Audi exclusive color, which I think to this day is one of the best, if not the best colors Audi has ever produced. And you can see these shiny tiny particles behind a few layers, and once the light hits at the right spots it looks even better, and I absolutely adore this color. It also will turn purple on during the rainy conditions, so it will go from blue to purple to blue, and again it looks absolutely incredible. And if you were to compare the same generation Audi 6, A7, A8, I think that blue is much better choice, because if we take gray, white, black for example, these cars look so much more dated than this one, and this car is again almost 11 years old, and I think it still looks rather fresh for its age. So moving to the front, we have full LED headlights with these tiny squares that they do look mean at the night time, especially. I do prefer this look over the facelift, at least for the night time, and I've noticed that people will move out of your way at night more than we do so with the facelift. And you can see my POV night drive video where this whole unit just looks absolutely mean. We of course have the traditional Audi grille, the radar, cruise control, all the technology packs are here. Moving to the side, we have the 20-inch Audi rotor wheels with Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, and I did have the Pirelli Zeros before, and upgrading to Michelin's was like going from regular to air suspension, because the whole car felt so much different, and I cannot recommend the Michelin's enough, seriously. I haven't had a good experience with Pirelli's yet, so I don't know, prove me wrong, but so far I have been converted to the Michelin brand. So here we of course have the S-Line trim, which will make the suspension slightly lower, and it will add a few trims here and here, but it's nothing as extreme as the RS model, of course. Here we have black tinted windows with manually adjusted curtains on the side, and the automatic curtain that is electronically controlled at the back, and of course the magical soft close doors are here as well. One of my favorite features as well, like it's so convenient, and you just don't have to slam and make your whole car shake, you know, when you're closing the doors. Moving to the back, we have a traditional Audi design taillight. I do love this look, especially the illuminated part that appears at night. I still prefer it over the facelift, but of course I do love the running turn signals that have been introduced with the facelift, and you can actually retrofit the whole unit if you want. You will have to make some adjustments and add additional pieces. I believe we are right here. That should be color painted to match your car, but again, I love this taillight. I wish it was smoked, but yeah, and the running turn signals are of course always awesome. At the bottom we have the Audi fake grille. Audi loves doing these fake grills, and I don't mind that as long as it's not too tacky. And of course we have the real exhaust pipes that we're still, I think, in 2011, believe it or not. And again, I think it's one of the best looking Audi cars that Audi has ever produced. And yeah, thanks to full LED headlights and this blue color, I cannot believe that this car is so old, you know. So let's jump to the front seat and we'll check the interior quality, and I'll let you know what kind of issues I've had with this car. Sitting inside the Audi 67, let's start with the interior quality check, and I'll just see if there are any squeaks or rattles. So okay, this is a weak part. This of course is all solid aluminum. So as far as interior quality goes, it's better than Mercedes for sure, and it's a rather hot day, so there are more creaks and rattles than usually, but I can assure you that the car doesn't rattle or creak when you are driving. So what we have inside is all black leather interior with aluminum bits, and I know that everyone hates the glossy black, but I think it looks kind of okay. I do prefer this look over the wooden trim, and it's interesting because I was always the wooden trim man, so I don't know, maybe my taste has changed because I got this car, maybe something else happened, but I like this look. I don't mind cleaning it, but I know that it's not the best material that could exist, and I don't understand why car manufacturers keep doing that on every bit. Like this is not a glossy black, this isn't glossy black, this isn't glossy black, so this also isn't glossy black, and this is the okay, with the exception of Audi multimedia part that you can open and close and add the SD cards. This is the only major glossy black, and you don't look at it as often as a steering wheel or anything, so this is why I'm okay with that. So the technology of Audi 67, this is again 2011 car, and for car that old, this has a lot of bells and whistles with the exception of Bang & Olufsen sound system and heads-up display. So we have a night vision that also highlights the pedestrians and animals, and it also automatically stops the car if there is something in front and there is an unavoidable collision. And I've had the Audi save me once. It was me driving in the roundabout, and some crazy person just decided to cut me off and just go in front of me, and thankfully the car stopped and I didn't crash it. So the Audi night vision system, it's great at night, and I cannot imagine myself using a car without it. I just feel like there is the additional layer of safety that allows me to see at night, especially when driving in these I don't know, shady, twisty roads without decent lighting. And the only downside of Volkswagen or any other night vision system, with the exception of Mercedes and Toyota or Lexus, is that this system becomes useless at I don't know, during the rainy conditions or when it's snowing, because it will all just be grainy and that's it. And the Mercedes and Lexus uses a different system, and the whole image is much clearer, and there of course are downsides to both implementations. But if you're interested to learn why there are differences between Mercedes and any other manufacturer, there is a Wikipedia article about night vision. Basically, the pros and cons of this system is that this one allows you to see further at night, but the image is not as clear, while the Mercedes or Lexus and Toyota decided to use the other system that provides a cleaner image, but the reader doesn't see so much further away, although at night at least those systems are usable. So there's pros and cons to every system, and I actually prefer the Mercedes one, and you get this one with Porsche, Audi, I don't know, any other car manufacturer. So we have cruise control that will start and stop, and I do use it at the highways. We have lane keep assist. This part is already looking dated, so there is no point in talking about that. But as far as reliability goes, Of course, we have a steering wheel, the S-Line package, the S-Line seats that aren't as comfortable, but I'll talk about the comfort a little bit later. So let's talk about the reliability issues that I've had with this car, and I'll start with the screen. You can see the problem already, and thankfully I haven't had to replace the wire that controls this whole screen yet, and have done around 200,000 kilometers, but my friend with his A7 already had to do it twice, like 2 years ago first time, and then 1 year ago the very last time. So this is a very troublesome part, and yes, it's a moving part, and Audi was never been able to fix, or not really bother, because I have a 2011 Lexus 200 CTH with the same or almost the same moving mechanism, and it doesn't struggle as this Audi. It gets worse during the hot weather, but the Lexus just goes in and out just so smoothly, and you won't have to replace it. At least I didn't have to replace any parts as far as the screen goes on Lexus yet. So if Lexus can figure it out, why can't Audi? I don't know. The next common issue with this car is the door mirrors, and I did replace the right motor already, and you can see that this one moves a little bit slower. So open, done, moving. Yeah, this is again once in a lifetime thing that I wouldn't worry too much, but this is something to keep in mind if you're buying the used Audi. And there will be a chain rattle at around 150,000 or 160,000 kilometers that I did fix at around 1,000 euros. Again, once in a lifetime thing, but basically the car, with the exception of gearbox, has been, I'd say, really reliable, and I actually haven't had any issues, at least as far as I remember, during many years of ownership. And it all started around 2 years ago, and yeah, this car is now old. So before that the car was rock solid. Now they're like tiny pieces that require fixing. Also, there is a automatic fuel cap or electronically controlled fuel cap that will break down on you, and you won't be able to fill your tank. So I did replace mine already. That's solved. You will have to at some point if you're buying any generation Audi from these years. I think that's it as far as the interior goes. Let's take it for a drive, and I'll talk more about the transmission, the gearbox, many issues I've had with it. Should you buy this car? Should you ignore it? Yeah, let's take it for a spin. I'll start in the efficiency mode. That's how I usually drive before the engine is warmed up, although you can see it's already rather warm. But yeah, so this car has a 3-liter 180 kilowatt diesel engine that produces around 500 newton meters of torque, and the claimed 0 to 60 time is 5.6 seconds, and 0 to 100 is around 5.8 seconds. And in the runs that I've did, and this is again a 4-wheel drive with sports differential, and the runs that I've did, and you can see that in my related videos, the car was not even close to that, and I was actually surprised by the results. And yeah, spoiler alert, it was slower, not faster, but yeah, you can see the runs as well as the sound isolation test that I did on the same video. So let's just turn to right and let's see how this car is to drive. Okay, let's just switch to sport. And yeah, the sports driving is where you want to be with this Audi, and it's actually a rather fun car to drive. And I know that a lot of BMW people, or every journalist basically says that it's not as fun as BMW, and that's true. There's no denying in that, especially having driven A7 and the BMW 6 Series recently. The car feels, this Audi feels slightly dead, So the comfort and the interior. So we have 20-inch alloy wheels with sport suspension, and that doesn't add to the comfort of this car. The first thing that I've noticed with this car when I bought it, and thanks to the S-Line sport seat, is that the car was rather stiff and the seats didn't feel as comfortable, and it took me by surprise during my first drive home. But yeah, it's something you get used to it now. I'm aware that the seats are stiffer, but now that I have had this car for like many years, and I've done journeys lasting, I don't know, 8 to 10 hours, no stop, like driving around 1,000 kilometers with one go, because that's how much range this car will give me with one fuel tank. My airs never hurt once, you know. I didn't feel I don't know, uncomfortable or anything. But yeah, this is something to keep in mind if you're buying, again, 20-inch wheels, car with 20-inch wheels and a stiffer suspension. But again, I would prefer a softer suspension now, but it is what it is. And yeah, this is a regular suspension, no adjustable dampers or anything, no air suspension. And yeah, this doesn't change anything as far as suspension goes. It just changes the response of the gearbox, the weight of the steering wheel, and so on. So should we talk about the worst thing about this car? And that would be its gearbox. The S-Tronic 7-speed transmission. I don't know how to say it, but Audi has never managed to produce a decent gearbox. I haven't seen it. Okay, maybe with the exception of R8, but that's I don't know, elephant in the room, I guess, or the extraordinary beast that is unrelated to any other Audi, I guess. Yeah, this transmission, mother of God, did it break down on me? So first thing first, around 2 years ago, I've received a warning that my transmission was overheating. So I went to the dealer, and we have had to replace a sensor or something along these lines, and it cost me around 1,500 euros. And again, we did have to take apart the whole gearbox, you know, and it was actually cheaper at the dealership than in the shop. So keep that in mind. At least it was my experience. And the side effect of that was that the second clutch was also, I guess, grinded down or something, and I did have to replace it around 6 months later for another 1,500 euros. So these issues I have heard were fixed. Again, I did receive a new firmware that made the transmission sluggish, and it was sluggish already, but now it's a new level of sluggish. So if you're buying this car, don't buy it without the fixed gearbox, or if you're buying, make sure that I guess it uses the 8-speed Audi Tronic, which is actually a ZDF transmission that you can get on the more powerful cars. So should you, let's say, if you're buying a used car, why not spend 3,000 euros more on a car with more power and better transmission than get this car and pay the same amount to fix it? So floor it. Once you get going, the transmission isn't as bad. In the S mode, you'll notice that the car can be jerky at low speed. So if you're driving at a city, like, it will have trouble figuring out, like, should I go to third, should I go to second gear, or something along this line. So push it to drive or efficiency mode for a more smoother ride in the city. But yeah, after the firmware update, this transmission became especially clunky, I guess. And I guess Audi did that for reliability reasons, you know. So it's the shifts or anything aren't as harsh. And yeah, let me show you another example. Like, I won't even switch to efficiency, but yeah, let's see, floor. Okay, it's now moving. And the worst part is going to reverse, because once you shift to reverse and then go to drive, like the car will stall for like, or stop for around 2 seconds trying to, I don't know what it's doing, but it wasn't the issue before the firmware update. And I did bring it to the dealer and they said that it was normal. So yeah, and that's the issue with many Audis that I've driven. Like, we haven't figured out how to do a good transmission. Like, it's embarrassing, really, especially the lag part. And yeah, even if you were to take the ZDF transmission that Audi has on A7, the more powerful A7 from the same generation, that car is also laggy. Not as much, but still. And that's probably the programming thing. And yeah, I've driven the BMW 6 Series with the same identical ZDF transmission that the Audi A7 had, and the difference was, honestly, it's like going from efficiency to sports. And with BMW, it's like going from sports to sports extreme. The transmission felt so alive. It was so fun to shift and drive that, yeah, once you go back, it can get on your nerves. But again, when I bought this car, I didn't have many reference points, and I didn't find that to be an issue. So again, if you haven't driven the other, let's say, BMWs, or I won't even mention Porsche or anything, it won't be a major issue, with the exception of the going from reverse to drive part, because it's still adequate, you know. And at the 180 kilowatts, there's enough power to really have fun, especially during the twisty road driving with the sports differential that this Audi also has. And it was then kept for the S7, A6 and RS models, but so I'm glad I got that option checked. And yeah, so again, the transmission is the only major issue with this car. And I know that the steering wheel, how's the steering wheel? Well, honestly, I don't know where my front wheels are or what we are doing, but that's something you get used to it. And again, adequate for non-racy driving. And the only other thing that you'll notice when driving downhill is that the front does feel heavy, and once you're braking and going through the corners downhill, yeah, this car will feel as if there's like additional ton of weight at the front. Again, this is the Audi thing, and I think with many other cars. So not a deal breaker, but if you must find the best driving, the most fun car to drive, this is not the one. But I do love the look, I do love the color, and again, this is why I bought this car. One of the main reasons was the look and the color. Again, for the price that I've paid at that time, it was the best looking car out there. So I don't know what's happening here. Let me just overtake it. And yeah, as far as overtaking goes, no issue whatsoever at any speeds, with the exception of course 100, I don't know, 80 at Autobahn. The comfort, again, going back to the comfort a little bit, I forgot to mention the sound isolation. So this car is great at speeds at around up to around 140 kilometers an hour. This is like, let's shift to efficiency. Of course, the road isn't as perfect, but it's relatively quiet, you know. But once you reach these speeds, the wind noise and the tire noise and everything does become rather noticeable, and you will have to adjust your volume controls and everything to hear the music. So again, I've did the sound isolation check in the other video, so if you want, check that out. So let's turn around right there, and I'll do the closing thoughts, I guess. Is there anything else I should mention about this car? Not really. I think, again, the pros and cons, you heard them already. The stiff suspension, the jerky gearbox, and the slow gearbox, and unreliable gearbox. But again, this issue with the can be fixed, at least partially, and you can always switch to the 18-inch wheels and go for the not so cool look, I guess. And the transmission fix will probably be once in a lifetime as well. So once you have these figured out, I think this car can be rock solid. So if this car is so good, like, why I'm selling it, like, what's wrong with it? Actually, the only reason why I'm selling it is the mileage. And again, this is a 200,000 kilometers car, and it's time to face the reality that this car will start breaking down even more, like 11 years old almost. That's just a lot of years for a non-Lexus product. And yeah, you'll have, I don't know, I think the turbo will last, but there are some expensive parts that will require fixing at some point, maybe after another 100,000, maybe 2,100 kilometers, but the sports differential will be the major pain in the butt. And once that breaks down on you, and again, not every car has it, it should cost you, like, from, I believe the quote was around 10,000 euros. So again, you don't want to buy this car with too many miles, at least if it has a sports differential. Other than that, I do absolutely enjoy driving this car despite its flaws. I would buy it again in a heartbeat. Would I buy it with lower mileage? Absolutely, but why would I buy the same thing again? You know, I'd rather try something else, something new. So I don't know what else or what I'm going to buy next. Maybe I was looking at Lexus LC500. I was looking at a new A7. There are many cool cars out there. So yeah, there's that. Thank you for watching, and if you want to see more unbiased reviews, like with journalists that don't just read a press release, hit that subscribe button. If not, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.